Chapter 38. What do you mean a child in me? She asked in disbelief as she gets up suddenly. You're pregnant, Empress mother. Male said with certainty. No, I can't be pregnant. I've consumed so many contraception that I might as well be infertile now. That's also what the doctor said, she yelled. But the doctors examined you and they said you are on your 6th week. Alaris was trembling. Why now? She can't afford to be pregnant. She's about to leave the castle in less than 3 months as per their original contract. Though that contract was torn apart by Nicholas himself, she still vows to follow it. She already decided to indulge her stupidity for the next months they need to be together, then let it all go. She was now almost determined to be free of everything about that man. Should I get rid of it? She murmured. What? You can't do that, Male said. She harshly looked at him with teary eyes. She really didn't know what to do now. Then what do you want me to do? Join the power struggle in the harem and let this child be a tool for power, or worse, be killed by the other wives of the emperor. I don't want that. Now that I still don't have that much attachment to this life, I might as well get rid of it, she said almost hysterically. Like I said, I've already gave words to the palace about your condition. Father must already knows. Why did you do that? You know I never wanted to have a child of his. That's exactly why. I know you don't want our father's child and predicted that you might kill my sibling without anyone knowing, so I tell father immediately. You cannot kill a known imperial family member. Your Majesty Empress Alaris. I as a prince will absolutely do what it takes to prevent you from doing any of that. He said. Tears fell from her eyes. She didn't know why she's crying, but she just can't contain the whirlwind of emotions in her. What should she do now? Leave me alone, she said, crying. No. You will always be on surveillance from now on, he said. Alaris lay down and covered herself in blanket. She touched her flat belly. Then tell the doctor to examine me again after a week. There must be some kind of mistake, she said, holding on to that tiny hope that she is not pregnant. Yes, when father comes we'll do another examination, he said, then ordered a maid to look after her. You shouldn't have come, child. You were better off with different parents. A letter came urgently at the emperor's office that put the whole palace in an uproar. Father, Empress mother is pregnant. Please see to it that she'll be sent back to the palace, for the battlefield is not a good place for a pregnant woman. We are also about to go home. We just have to capture the remaining rebels. For the meantime, please prepare a celebration as it is the first pregnancy of the Empress regnant. Mail an informal letter. A letter that was written abruptly, but for Nicholas, it was like his dream come true. A child between him and the Empress. How lovely can they be? A direct heir. In the succession law of the empire, the heir born from the Empress regnant will be given much priority than that of the other wives. This is the reason why Alaris didn't want to have a child with him. This will stir up trouble, a lot of trouble. Though most of the people in the palace rejoice, there are some that didn't take the news positively. Kashana locked herself on her room with his newborn prince, who doesn't even have a name yet. She was standing beside the prince's crib. He still cannot be carried as they were waiting for Alaris to heal his weak body. Kashana was having mixed feelings. She wanted for Alaris to hurry up and go home so she can heal the prince. She was willing to go down on her knees for his son. But now with the horrible news, she didn't want to see her. Don't worry, my child. I'll make sure you get the things that you deserve, she whispered, looking at the weak child in his crib. Alicia was the most furious. She kept on throwing things in her room. The maids were so scared that they all didn't go near her room and took Naveen away. She always thought that Alaris and her was equal. Both are not favored by the emperor, but has enough power to stay in the harem. Naveen being the source of her power and Alaris having the support of the new nobles as hers. That's why she was always with her. To keep her in check that she will not have more power than her. But the emperor started favoring her. She can't even go near her as the cold gaze of Nicholas pierced through her whenever she tried to approach the Empress. And now, with Alaris' display of her healing power and being pregnant with the emperor's child, she cannot stand still. She was now at the bottom of the harem. Anna, she yelled, calling the head maid of her palace. The trembling maid come inside the messy room. Glasses are everywhere. Her bed was torn apart and water from the vases were splattered. Even the concubine herself is a mess. You called, my lady, she said, trying to compose herself. Contact Mikhail. Send him an aborticide and tell him to make the Empress consume it. She ordered. The maid was in horror, but before she said anything, Elisha's hand fell on her cheeks, making the maid fell down the floor. Do it, or what are you looking down on me now? The maid, trying to hold her tears, slowly shook her head. She then bowed her head to the ground and said, Please forgive my rudeness, my lady. I'll do what you ask, she said, begging. Get out now. She yelled once again, please don't hate me too much. Alaris, it's your fault for trying to go up the ranks. You already have your brains in you and some of his favor. You don't need to have the Emperor's child anymore. Yao author here. I'm not so busy at work, so here's another chapter as you requested. Hi. Please enjoy. And yeah, thank you all so much for enjoying this story. Chapter 40. Alaris sat on her bed inside the tent she was residing. She was still holding the letter. Should she feel disappointed? Did she even have the rights to? She's really tired. Nicholas coming for her is her last straw. She thought that if he comes for her, she's willing to give birth to this child even with all the odds. And now this happens. Maybe the heavens are telling her that birthing this child will do her no good. She touched her still flat belly. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I didn't pick a better man to be your father. Empress mother, can I come in? Asked Male outside. Yeah, she answered weakly. When he went inside, he saw the gloomy state of Alaris holding a letter. What's wrong? He asked. Alaris didn't say anything and handed him the letter. Do you really think it's safe for me to have this child? I don't have the confidence to protect this child from everyone who hope for my demise. Your father will never choose me over your mother, she said bitterly. After a while, Male was silenced. For a while, Alaris was right. His father cherishes his mother too much that he allows her abuse on him, as he felt pity for her. He'll definitely forgive her if something happens to the child Alaris was carrying. But is abortion their only option? Is it really the right thing to do? Then Male had an idea. Empress mother, you're right. Having the child dead is our only option, Male said. Alaris looked at him confused. For a while she felt a pang on her chest. She's having second thoughts. Is it really okay to kill this innocent child? She felt warm inside her whenever she thought of caressing a small, soft creature in her arms. A very adorable tiny one holding her fingers with its little hands. She might have already loved the child before she knew it. Male smiled secretly. He knew that Alaris cannot really abort the child. We'll make father think that the child is dead. Male continued. She looked at him with him frowning. What do you mean? Alaris asked. It's as I said. We'll make it look like you had a miscarriage. Then you'll stay here until you gave birth in secret. I can take care of them once you recover for a while. I'll make an excuse for us to stay here a bit longer until you gave birth, and I can just say that I need a vacation as a compensation for winning the war, so I can take care of my siblings for a while. This will also allow me to investigate my grandfather without much suspicion. He explained. That's dangerous. We can get discovered anytime, she said. We'll be careful. It's the best shot we have for my unborn sibling's safety. He said. Alaris was silent. He's right. It's a crappy plan, but if things went right, it can guarantee the child's safety for a while. And it can buy her time to think for a much better plan. And besides, she don't think she really has the heart to kill the life inside her. Okay, we'll go with your plan. Let's discuss the specifics, she said. Weeks after, the delegation Nicholas sent to get Alaris came back with only a letter. Emperor Nicholas, as you know, the rebels are still not suppressed 100%. The first Prince Male and I will stay here for a little while longer to clean up this mess. We have suspicions that they might be traitors within the nobles in our country, so please investigate that in your end. We will also do our own investigation here. I won't come back for the next few months. You don't have to worry about this child. For this child is someone we don't need, Alaris. Nicholas trembled reading the letter. He paled as he read every bit of word. That's right. From the start, Alaris never wanted to have his child. Why would he think that she'll care for them? He should have gone out himself so he can drag her to the palace for her safety. But there's still time, he can still drag her back. He tear the letter apart, call the remaining knights. We'll go to the battlefield right now. His orders erupted. You can't just carelessly throw away the life of my child. My Empress regnant. But when he was on his horse, a maid from the Rose Palace came rushing. Please, Your Majesty. The third prince is having a seizure, and the Empress consort is being hysterical because of her child. Please, please, they need you, she said, begging. Nicholas clenched his fist. What should he do? Who should he choose? He's not a doctor, so Kashana will be fine with all the best doctors attending her and the child, and he can have the knights get Alaris to go home. Your Majesty, please, the maid continued begging. He closed his eyes tightly and sighed. Tell the knight to not go home without the Empress regnant. I'll behead them myself if they failed to get her here, he ordered. The maid's face brightened as he got off his horse and went to Kashana. This is something that he regret doing for the rest of his life. Because Alaris went home to the palace after several months wearing all black and holding a dead child wrapped in a black fabrics. Chapter 41. When the knights tried to force Alaris to go home to the palace, the rebels came ambushing them with the mercenaries that they hired. This made the knights become busy subjugating them. For the next months, Alaris was still helping on treating patients. She helped Mail formulate ideas on how to prolong the war without causing much damage so they can still have reason to stay there. She also did receive tons of letter from the Emperor urging her to go back, but he never went there himself, so she never did bother replying to any of his letter. If he really did care, he will come here against all odds. That's what she thought, and as expected. During the course of her pregnancy, many attempted to kill the unborn child. On her 7th month, one knight named Mikhail secretly poured an aborticide on her food, but got caught in doing so. When tortured, he confessed his relationship with concubine Alicia. Little by little, Mail was getting more information about this whole fiasco. They were getting much closer to who's the real traitor in the Empire. In one of the battles, pregnant woman asked for their help as she was left by her husband to die in the middle of the firings. They did try to save her and her child, but they were too late. Alaris was very busy that time treating the injured knights that she failed to cater the pregnant woman right away. The woman and her child died. When she saw the baby with her pale blonde hair, she thought that she was perfect for their plan. It was a great disrespect for the dead, but she needed the body of the child. Mail agreed to use the child as the body of her dead daughter to be presented to the Emperor. I'm sorry for using your corpse this way, but I promise you'll have the grandest funeral as the first princess of the Philion Empire, and I'll let you be buried beside your mother. She silently told the child this time. The plan was now in motion. She pretended to drink the aborticide Alicia sent and contracted the doctor to make it seem like she had a miscarriage. And months later, she did give birth to the lives that must be kept in the dark. Emirian and Ember, the hidden prince and princess. The receiving room was huge, and in the top middle of it are 2 extravagant chairs to be occupied by the Emperor and Empress regnant. It was a room designed to receive honorable guests or special people by the Emperor. It is usually filled with other nobles for a warm welcome. But that day was different. Alaris sent a letter for the first time in almost a year stating that she only wants the Emperor and his aide on the receiving room. The Emperor, who was deprived of news from her, excitedly complied. Even though he didn't receive any letter, a doctor constantly reported her condition, and even though she doesn't know the child's gender, he eagerly asked the maids to prepare 2 rooms for the child. One room is designed for a male child and the other is for a female child. Both was decorated lavishly. He ordered scholars to find him books to give him idea on what name shall he give their first child. He was just that excited. But all of those excitement vanished into thin air when Alaris walked through the receiving room holding a black fabric. She then kneeled in front of him. Greetings to the son of the Empire. We've come with a glorious win against the rebels. She started. Please get up, my Empress. You must not have recovered from giving birth recently. The doctor who was reporting to me suddenly stopped giving news about you, but you must have given birth right. He asked with a little tremble in his voice as he came closer to her. Alaris shut her eyes tightly and sighed. She needs to suppress the lump on his throat in order to say the news clearly. She got up and handed over the dead child to the Emperor. I present you our first child, your Majesty. She was a beautiful princess. The first princess of the Philion Empire, she said. She looked at his face intently as horror slowly drew on his face. His trembling hand held the cold corpse of a baby girl. Tears fell from his face as he was looking at the baby he's holding. No, tell me she's just sleeping, please. He pleaded with cracked voice. Alara's tears also fell from her eyes. I apologize for not being able to protect our child, Your Majesty. I accidentally ingest aborticide on my 6th month. I am careless, please punish me, she said, looking down. Then there was a deafening silence. Who? An almost whisper voice came from Nicholas. A knight named Mikhail was caught putting the aborticide on my food, she said. That was when Mail came with a tied-up knight. He was the one responsible for killing the princess, Mail stated. The Emperor's eyes grew colder as he drew his sword while still holding the baby. Alaris got scared. She didn't expect that he will react this way. Wait. Your Majesty, we can't kill him yet. We still have to, but her plead fell on deaf ears. Her eyes widened as she witnessed Nicholas mercilessly stab the knight everywhere. His sword fell on its body like a madman. But Nicholas made sure that he didn't stab a critical area, which made the knight just bled, but didn't die immediately. The room was filled with the knight's agonizing groans. Is it painful? But that's not enough for the crime you committed, he shouted as he was stabbing the man continuously. That was when Alaris can no longer take it and bravely stopped Nicholas by hugging him from behind. Our child will be stained with more blood, she said. That's when Nicholas stopped. He then let go of his sword besides an unrecognizable corpse. Oh, I'm sorry, my child, did you get scared? He talked to the child like it's alive. We need to ready a funeral for her, Alaris said. Nicholas looked at her, his face filled with blood and tears. She didn't even know if it was blood or tears that came out of his eyes. I'm sorry, if only I came to get you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. His painful apology and cries echoed inside the room. It was said that the Emperor became crazy that he refused to perform a funeral for the first princess. The maids witnessed how he hushed the baby to sleep as if it was alive while crying and apologizing to the dead child. Not even Alaris's plead goes through the grieving Emperor. Since the plot is a little bit heavy now, let's go back a little bit to why Alaris chose Nicholas as his bride. Although the Philion Empire's slums are the waking call of Alaris to pursue power, she really didn't have to marry the Emperor. I mean, she can just negotiate as a princess of the Lossless or be a wife of another high-ranking noble of the Philion Empire, like the single Duke of the North, but she stupidly go through a lot of trouble and create a lot of excuses to marry the Emperor. Why? Because among the groom candidate from Philion Empire that Yue prepared for her years ago, he was the most handsome, so yeah. Alaris married Nicholas because of his face. She didn't necessarily love him, as she never really go after him, but for her, just looking at his face made her day, so yeah. This whole fiasco happened because of the beautiful face of Nicholas. Surprise, hi, here's another chapter for ya. Also, I will say this again and again, haha. Thank you so much for you all. I hope you bear with me until the story of Alaris and Nicholas ends. Love, author. Chapter 42. Nicholas always dreamed of a normal and happy family. Everyone knows that his father died early, so he doesn't have that much memories of him. But he remembered his gentle smile and hands that caressed him. That is why he vows to be a father like him. After he died, his mother never became his mother. She was so busy and obsessed trying to hold on to their power and position that she neglected him. He grew up starved of love. It's like someone gave a child a taste of candy, and when he wanted more, they took it all away, never giving him another. He thought he's going to experience it if he marries the sweet and loving Kashana. But he was wrong. Just like every family in this empire, Kashana also yearns for power and put his son to the seat of the Emperor. Kashana abuses Mail, covering it as a disciplinary action. But what can she do? It is how she was raised. How can a person be a good parent if she doesn't have a good role model? But then Alaris came. It must be because Alaris came from a country that is family-oriented. She showed Nicholas warmth that he was always looking for. She's strong, kind, and someone who made his two sons open up to each other. If it's with her, he thought he could have the family that he wanted. That's why he yearned for their own child. If it's her child, maybe it will be someone warm enough to fill the void in his heart. Of course, he loves his other children, but he can see himself in them. A void was also in their hearts. Mail, who he turned a blind eye on to despite being abused, and to Naveen, who was spoiled, rotten, and brainwashed by Alicia. He failed those kids. He thought that Alicia and Kashana will take care of the two princes wholeheartedly if he showed the princes favor, but he was wrong. Those two still got involved with a scarred childhood. It's their culture that's wrong. That's why he wanted Alaris to be someone who will show them what it's like to have a warm home. That's why he was extremely jealous of Yue. His child, despite not being of Alaris blood, was able to inherit her legacy. It was something that should have been reserved for their child. Hyseal's silver hair was something that he hates as it reminds him of what she steal from their future child. He knows that blaming and hating an innocent child will do him no good, but he really can't help but feel that way. And now that the future that he dreams of is almost at his grasp, it slipped away on him like sand when you try to hold on to it too tight. And he knows it's his fault. He clearly knows that he brought it upon himself. What did he say to Alaris on their first night? Don't expect me to sleep with you because I won't. But it's funny how he's the one who thirsted for her first. His coldness and neglect towards Alaris is now hunting him. And he totally deserved that. But his child didn't deserve this kind of death. He was still holding the child's body, hoping that its warmth will come back. Your mother made me feel the warmth I've always wanted to feel. So I beg of you to please have that warmth too. I will wait, my princess, instead. I'll warm your body for now so you won't get cold, he said, hushing the baby to sleep. Alaris' heart broke looking at Nicholas standing in his vast room holding the dead child. He was very haggard and a picture of a mess. His eyes lost its shine and so his hair's luster. He's becoming thinner as he wouldn't eat properly. He didn't even address his work that is piling on his desk at their office, so Alaris was the one who stepped up. He just keeps on holding the baby, refusing to let it go. It's been like that for several weeks, and the elders are now becoming more and more concerned as there is still no officially appointed heir. Alaris walked through the room quietly. She gently caresses his back and rests her forehead on his shoulders. Then she feels him trembles. I am really sorry. His voice cracked. He's crying once again. Those were the only words that he keeps on saying again and again whenever he sees her. Alaris closed her eyes, holding back her tears. I'm sorry, she said. Yes. She's sorry for lying to him like this. She's sorry for hiding their children. But what can she do? When he did a lot of things to make her insecure if he will really be able to protect them. It feels he needs to lose them first. For him to realize that he was to blame for not being able to protect them and choosing another over them. Besides, you can never have all the best in the world. Whoever Nicholas would choose between her and Kashana, he was bound to be hurt by his own actions. It's the price he have to pay for his greediness and selfishness. He tried to keep them both, but he can never. He must let go of one to fully protect the other. And in this case, it was clear to Alaris that she will never be chosen, so she let go first. Let's let her go now, she gently said. Nicholas, hold the baby tighter still. Refusing to let her go, please, she needs to rest. Nicholas, we need to send her off now. You being like this won't make her happy, she said. Nicholas keeps on holding the baby tightly for a while, then it loosened. Do you think she'll forgive me for being unable to protect her? He asked, of course. How can she hate her father when you love her this much? She said. Nicholas nodded. Please tell them to prepare for the first princess funeral, he said. While Alicia was rejoicing, thinking her plan succeeded, Kashana felt so miserable she felt like she lost. That even though Alaris's child died, she clearly lost. She looked at her now healthy child after Alaris healed him. If it's my child who died, would you also weep like that, your majesty? She whispered as tear fell on her cheek. Chapter 43. The funeral proceeded smoothly, however. The moment that the coffin of the little girl is buried, the emperor tried to stop it desperately. Alaris hugged him tightly so she could stop him. Let's let her go now, please. Let's let her be in peace, she keeps on saying to the emperor. Weeks after that, Alaris met Alicia. Alaris asked Alicia to have an afternoon tea with her. I know what you did, she said after sipping her tea. Oh, my your majesty, care to explain? She said, looking rather calm. There's no point in denying it any longer, Alicia. We've had evidence, and the knight whom you conspired with mentions your name before he died, she said. Alicia's face paled. Mikhail is dead. Oh. So his name is Mikhail, she said coldly. Even though her children didn't really die, attempting to poison them is still a crime. She didn't know how long can she hide the twins, so before any information about the twins went out, she needs to eliminate the threats. How dare you? She shouted as she splashed the tea on her face. Alaris looked at her coldly, which made Alicia flinched. How dare you kill my child? She said, and the knights suddenly grab Alicia, which made the latter to struggle. Banish her to a faraway land and strip her of her title. Make sure she'll never step here in the capital again. Give her sufficient fun to start a new life again. She said. Alicia glared at her. You can't do this to me, I hate you. I only did what's right. She shouted without any feeling of remorse. For killing the first princess you deserve death penalty, but in consideration of the second prince I will only banish you. I'll convey my decision to the emperor, she said as she stood up when the maid offered her a towel to dry herself. Mom, the crying and confused Naveen called. Alaris flinched. Naveen will be the most affected in the situation. Mom, you'll stay, right? You will not go anywhere, right? He asked his mother, who was about to be dragged away. Your beloved Empress mother is going to depose me. Naveen's teary eyes looked at her. She looked at him intently. Without saying a word, the boy understood that what his mother said is right. Please know my mom's not a bad person, he said. I'm sorry, Naveen, drag her, she firmly ordered as she turned her back at them. She heard Alicia's hysterics and Naveen's cries. I hate you, Empress mother. She was dragged down by the order of the Empress, but will be able to live peacefully as a commoner, reported Pierre to the Emperor. The Emperor, without life in his eyes, ordered, make her experience a painful death. Don't let Alaris know of her disposal. Affirmative. Pierre obliged. It took Nicholas some months again to be able to go to his office and work. Alaris has always been there, which made Nicholas feel a little bit better. Their days passed just like that until weeks later. Alaris asked for a divorce. You're going to leave me too, he asked. Alaris smiled sadly. I believe we no longer have any reason to be together, she said. The Emperor sighed. He wanted to stop her, but he was just so tired of everything. At this point, he feels like an empty shell. In fact, in the back of his mind, he knew this will happen. Alaris will leave him. And after his neglect that results to the death of their child, he doesn't have the right to stop her. This was the consequence that he have to face. If I beg you to stay, will you stay? He asked, hoping that she'll stay. Alaris slowly shook her head. We're both hurt right now. I think this is the best time to part ways. Maybe time can heal the both of us, but right now, I don't think seeing each other will make us feel better. I don't want to see you, Your Majesty. Let's part ways, she said with a heavy heart. Nicholas signed the divorce paper. On the last day of winter, the sun loses his moon completely. 3 years later, embers stop drawing on our walls. Alaris gently yells at a 2-year-old baby girl. The little girl has a wavy blonde hair with ocean blue eyes, a spitting image of his father. This is called art, mommy. Ember, with her childish tone, reasoned out. It's ugly. An arrogant tone that came from a child said. Alaris glanced at her son, a 2-year-old boy who was arrogant and mature for his age, an epitome of a ruler. He has a beautiful face with ocean blue eyes and silver hair, a mixed feature of his parents. Shut up, Emery. Brother Male said. It's cute. Ember said. No, it's not, said the boy, and the two started fighting with each other. Stop it, both of you, or no snacks for a week, Alaris said, and the two stopped fighting. Face the wall and down on your knees. Reflect on your actions, she said, and the two children obliged with their cute pouty faces. I'm here, a boy said on the outside. The two children jump out and head towards the door. Brother Male, both of them shouted. Did you bring me sword? Ember asked excitedly. What about books? Emery said. Of course. Only for my favorite siblings, he said, and gave them his gift. Stop spoiling them, Alaris said. It's fine, it's nothing, Male said. It's been 3 years since she got divorced, and they are living quietly in a faraway province, almost at the boundary of the Leon Empire. Male was the only one who knows their location, and he visited them after every season ends. They were all living peacefully at a small villa, far from the luxurious life of an imperial member, but life there is so peaceful. Her parents already know of the twins and are waiting for them to go home. But Alaris was waiting till the children is of age to travel long distance. She plans to stay on her home country permanently when the kids grew up. It's a life she achieved after all those struggles that she experienced. She was now contented. The end. Chapter 44. Alaris lived a peaceful life. The last 3 years was like a healing phase for her. Mael is the only person who was connected with her through the years. There were times that Mael looks like he wanted to say something but chose not to. He was a very sensitive person. He knows that she doesn't want to hear any news about the palace. It's the only way to keep her peace that day. She and the children were all in the market buying something. There was not much people in the streets as it is in the afternoon. Alaris personally managed their home. She was the one who cleans, cook, and do laundry. Like a regular housewife. Something that she didn't expect to do in this life of hers. Nonetheless, she's contented. She made her silver hair color turn to brown so not to stand out. Even the eye color and hair color of her children were altered. This way, no one will suspect the origin of the children. Mom, can we play with them? Ember asked enthusiastically as she was pointing to the group of children who were playing. Alaris looked at the children and nodded sure. But don't go too far, okay? And don't use your power just to bully other kids. Ember, she warned her daughter. Ember was always naughty. She was a free-spirited child. Compared to the serious and reserved Emery, she needed extra attention as there are times that she got into trouble with other kids and hurt herself in the process. She was also someone who loved sword and fighting. Honestly, Ember's whole self is just a carbon copy of his father. Her appearance and her hobbies and even her talents all came from his father. Don't worry, mother. I'll look after her, Emery said, looking at Emery. He also got so much from his father. The only thing that Emery got from her is her silver hair. Emery resembles the serious personality of his father. The arrogance and confidence that a ruler possesses. There were times that she felt sorry for her children. Both of them stand a chance on becoming a ruler of a glorious empire. But her cowardice prevented them from having that life. Instead, here they are, living a humble life near the border, hiding their identity. Both of them are deprived of education befitting of a royalty. Even though she tried her best teaching them, she knows her knowledge is not enough. Especially Ember, she wanted to learn sword fighting. Mael was the one who taught Ember every now and then, but their time was limited. That's why she has to went home to their country as soon as possible, so that the two children will much safer and can learn anything they want. She pat Emery's head. Thank you, sweetheart. I'll just buy some meat for our dinner, then we'll go home. Okay, she said. She then went to the butcher to buy some meat. Look who's here, Eliana, how are you? The butcher greeted her. Eliana. That's the name she's been using ever since she moved in here. I'm doing good, Carl, gimme the usual, she said. Sure thing, he said. She developed a good relationship with people in this town. In the past years, they helped her as single parent. In her everyday life, they taught her the things she need to learn as a commoner. She was just so lucky to be in a friendly town like this. When she went out of the shop, she saw her children talking to a man covered in robes. He's suspicious. She walked fast towards them, and when the man saw her, he fled. That's when she ran towards the twins. Who's that? Are you okay? Are you hurt? She said whilst inspecting the body of the two for any injuries. No, Mom, he just asked us some questions, Emery said. Yeah, he's kinda weird. He keeps on saying our eyes are pretty, even though we change its color. Ember said, are you sure you're not hurt? She asked. Nope. Besides, I'll punch him if he tried something dangerous. Ember said in her childish tone. Alaris just nod. Let's get out of here before other weird guys approached us, she said and held the children's hands to go home. Their house was inside a forest. It was an ideal place for her as it is hidden from a lot of people. She bought the whole forest so they were the only one there. And Mael made sure that there were no dangerous animals lurking in there. The moment she went home, she was struck with horror when she saw the inside of their house in a mess. Someone raided their house. Who was it? She checked their belongings if they were robbed, but all their valuable items are still intact. It's like someone is just scaring them. She held the hands of the children tightly. They need to leave here. Someone knows them. She didn't know who, but someone definitely knows them and is giving them threats. Mail won't come until the next month. She needs to protect the children alone. She got their emergency luggage. She then called for her messenger pigeon and attach a message to send to her parents. Mom, Dad, come fetch us in this town immediately. We can no longer wait. Someone was threatening us. Mom, we're scared. What's happening? Asked Ember. Alaris went down on her knees to keep an eye level on the children. Kids, listen. For now we're going to Uncle Ivan's house. Our house is a mess and we cannot sleep here. Tomorrow, your grandparents will fetch us and we're going home," she said, trying to smile. "We're finally going to see Grandma and Grandpa." Ember asked excitedly. "Yes, you will," she said. Emery tugged the hem of her dress. "Mom, someone's watching us," he said. Fear laid in his voice. Alaris got frightened. She got a bucket of water. She then soaked her hand in there and chanted a spell. Fog started to form. "Let's go fast," she said as she dragged the children outside the forest. They almost run amidst the thick fog. "Mom, my friends told me that they are following us," Emery said, his eyes are gleaming. "Friends?" Alaris asked. "Yeah. They said they were this forest spirit." "Let's go left, Mom. They said they'll try to trick those people," Emery said. For a moment, Alaris got more scared. Ember was showing signs of talents in swordsmanship, and now looks like the spirits favors Emery. That must be the reason why her connection with the spirits weakened the moment the twins were born. Nevertheless, Alaris trusted him and obliged. They turned left. "Mom, the cave was quite cozy," Ember suddenly said. "What, it's quite large. Despite this small opening, we can hide there for now," she said. She tried to look at the place she's looking, but she can't see due to the thick fog. She trusted her daughter, and after a while of running, there was indeed a cave with a bit small opening. "Is this safe?" she murmured to herself. "It's safe, Mom." "No one's in there," Ember said. Alaris just looked at the twins and nodded. She then let them in the cave. "We'll stay here for the night and rest. Tomorrow we're going to meet your grandparents," she said when they went inside the cave. It was indeed cozy and a bit large. She got some blankets that's in their luggage and tucked the twins in bed. "Will we be okay, Mommy?" asked the groggy Ember. "We'll be fine, sweetie, now rest," she said. She then whispered to the spirits. "Our connection was now weaker, but would you mind looking after us just for the night?" she asked in thin air. She felt a warm breeze touched her skin. It seems like they agreed. That night, Alaris went to sleep peacefully without knowing that the next day, their life will turned upside down. A ray of light made her open her eyes. "Did you sleep well?" asked a very familiar yet unfamiliar voice. "Yes," she absent-mindedly answered as she rubbed her eyes. "Your hair looks funny, Mom," Ember said. She looked at where the voice are. She saw 3 people looking at her. Her 2 children and the man she wanted to meet the least. The man was holding a daughter version of him, just like his daughter. His golden blonde hair looks shining under the morning light. His ocean blue eyes was still as beautiful as ever. Even the dark circles cannot hide its luster. "It's been a while, Alaris," he said. "Well, SHT. Kashana was trembling with nervousness. She failed. She King failed call father now," she shouted almost hysterically. "Why don't you die? I've sent so many assassins the moment I knew of those children's existence. But they just won't die," she shouted as she keeps on throwing things in the ground. "Mom, are you mad again?" a small voice said, stuttering. She calms down the moment she saw the face of his son. She smiles warmly and "Carry him, no honey. Those things just fell on their own," she said in her sweet tone. She then looked at her maids. "Clean them now. What if my son got wounded with those shard?" she shouted at them. The maids flinched and trembles but still oblige. Kashana hugged her child. "I'll make sure to remove any obstacles on your way, my child. This time I'm willing to dirty my own hands." Hi. Author here. Here's a long update. Hi. Thank you so much for waiting also. Happy 10K reads. Yes. Thank you so much for your comments, reads, and votes. I love y'all. I hope you continue supporting me till the end of Alaris and Nicholas' story. And hope you enjoyed this chapter. Love, author. Chapter 45. Male was in a dilemma. He watched as his father reads the letter he was about to send to Alaris. He just discovered that his mother accidentally found out that Alaris was taking care of 2 children who were clearly of royal bloodline. Thus she plans to kill them. As not Yora's suspicion that he already knows Kashana's plan. He plans to send a messenger pigeon to warn his Empress mother about the situation, but it was accidentally caught by Nicholas. "Twins, what is this letter, First Prince?" his father asked him, holding the small piece of paper with trembling hands. "They got caught. Should he lie and make up an excuse?" "Father, it's not what you..." "Then what is it?" he shouted. Male closed his eyes tightly, then sighed. It seems like there's no way they can hide it forever. For the last 3 years, his father lived like a dead man. He barely eats nor sleeps. All he does is work and work and work. He's like a machine whose only purpose is working. He haven't even shaved his beard and dark circles were under his eyes. His body lost a lot of muscles and is becoming thinner and thinner. The Empress consort, who is now the only one in the harem, cannot even urge him to regain his former self. The only times when he is shown a little smile is when his youngest brother visits him sometimes. But that smile turns to a bitter one. Must have made him remember that though not directly. He was a reason why he failed to come fetch Alaris on the battlefield 3 years ago. "They are your children, father, my youngest siblings." Marl started, then finally revealed what transpired 3 years ago. Nicholas was just quiet, unable to fully digest everything all at once. He lost his strength in his knees and Mail helped him sit. "They're alive," he murmured. "They are, and now." Mother also knew that they're alive. A maid of hers who she asks to go to the borders accidentally saw the twins in the middle of the forest. He said tears fell from Nicholas' eyes. From the feeling of betrayal and happiness. How can two contrasting emotions clash into tears? "Father, I understand you're having a hard time digesting all of these, but Empress Mother and the twins were in trouble. Mother was out there to kill them," Mail said. Nicholas' expression turned dark. He's not going to lose any of them now. "Order the knights to be discreetly dispatched on the borders where Alaris is. Call the maids to ask them to groom me," he said. "Really, you need grooming at this time?" Mail asked sarcastically. "I can't have my children get scared of my appearance on our first meeting. Can I?" he said. Alaris was looking at the bowl of hot soup in her hands. She can't even process what's happening anymore. Someone was out there to kill them and she doesn't know who. Then when she wakes up the next morning, Nicholas greets her while being close to the kids. Did she miss a whole year of time when she fell asleep? "I'm sorry, Empress Mother. I failed to immediately come into your rescue and even spilled the beans." Mail suddenly said. She held her forehead. "She feels like she'll have a headache. Forget it." "It must have been an emergency, so what happened?" she asked. They were currently in the middle of the forest. A maid from the Nicholas party cooked breakfast for them. Nicholas insisted that they eat first and rest for a while before setting on their journey. "Mother knows about the twins. A maid accidentally saw them. She was the one who intends to kill you." Mail explained. She pursed her lips. The thing that she was most afraid of is happening. She didn't want this to happen, Empress Mother. "I know you don't want to deal with the power struggle, but you can no longer run away. I've collected enough evidence to take down my grandfather and our family. If that happens, I will probably be removed from the line of succession. Naveen can't be the heir. His grandfather was too mad from what happened to his daughter and greedy. It might lead to the imperial family's ruin. Only the twins are now eligible for the throne. But we don't care about those things. And you don't have to do all that. Your name will also be tarnished," she said. "But I need to, Empress Mother, I once told you. I'm afraid of the throne ever since I was a kid. My mom obsessively pushed the throne onto me. That I trembled every time I thought of the things she does just so I could have something I don't want to. I'm still scared until now. I feel like sitting on a dirty pile of blood whenever I think of myself becoming the emperor. Please grant me my selfish wish. Save me from the throne," he pleaded. "What if none of my children wants the throne? Are you saying I should also push them to do something that they also do not want?" She asked. "Well, I'm only 15, I'm still a child. Right, and those were adults' problems. Didn't you say that let the adults solve those kinds of problems?" He said, then smirked. "Really? You're going to use that card now? You're the one who taught me those things. Besides, you can always create more children until someone will be willing to take the throne." He joked. Alaris's face crumpled. "Can we just pretend none of these happens? And the twins and I go back to my home country?" she asked Mail. Although she knows that it will be impossible. "What do you mean?" a voice from behind said. Alaris and Mail turned to that person. "Do you really think I'll let you go? When you handed me the divorce paper. That will be the last time that you'll leave me. Once I caught you again. You can never leave me again," Nicholas said with his most serious expression while carrying the snoring Ember in his arms. The scene was a bit dark, but it's quite funny for Alaris. Then, without further argument, After a couple of days traveling, the twins took their first step in their rightful place as the children of the imperial family.